So for a while now, we already knew about Sonic Origins getting some DLC. That's something we already heard about just from Sega accidentally leaking it on like the Steam page or whatever. However it was done, I'm not entirely sure. More importantly though, I'm kind of more so, I don't know, not a huge fan of it. Sonic Origins Plus seems like a fine addition. It doesn't seem like it's being too terrible. Heck, even if it was payable, I don't think it was really that bad. Like, an additional playable character, some additional games, like, of course, why wouldn't I complain? 12 more games on top of the 4 games we already have. Sure, that's pretty cool. But in comparison to the rest of Sonic Origins, and the fact you have to pay for it, it's not really that great in my opinion. At least the fact that Amy is a playable character, that pretty much means that Knuckles is probably playable in Sonic CD. You don't want to be playing as my girl instead of Knuckles, but that's just me. You know, a little bit of a girl bias there, but whatever, not important. So now we got Sonic Origins Plus. I don't really like the fact that we only have Amy. Like, why only Amy? It would have been cool if we could have also gotten Mighty and Ray, you know? It is also kind of weird that it seems like originally Amy was planned to be part of the game since launch, judging by how the fact that the first trailer literally says, and a new playable character. I was literally so excited when I heard about that because, like, Amy's going to be playable. But no, when it came out, Amy was not playable, and I'm like, really? Why? Come on. I was so excited for Amy. But whatever, at least she's added. And soon. Whatever. But it kind of, when you think about that moment, it does kind of make you think. Wait, did they literally just take what was supposed to be in a base game and literally turn it into DLC we have to pay for? Because I bet this is going to be paid DLC. Like, this is modern Sega we're talking about. And you might be saying, well, it's not that bad of a thing. Sometimes things that are supposed to be in a base game can tend to sometimes be made in the DLC, even simply because that, well, it doesn't really matter too much. As long as the base game still has everything that makes it still a worthwhile experience. I mean, this could just seem as extra content. It's kind of like Piranha Plant in that sort of case. Piranha Plant is a character that definitely was pretty late into production, judging by how he's the only DLC character. I say he, even though it's just a plant. But still, it's the only character that has a Palutena's guidance, even though it's DLC. While the other DLC characters doesn't have a Palutena's guidance. On top of, well, everything else that makes the other DLC characters unique that this character doesn't have, it makes me feel like the Piranha Plant might have been made for the base game first, but they decided to just keep him out. You might be wondering if Amy is the same situation, why did it take them an entire year just for them to add her? What about the Game Gear games? Well, to be honest, the Game Gear games kind of makes it more bare bones. Like, I know there's nothing really wrong with the fact that they include emulated games, but including an emulated game, even if you get a lot more content a lot easily for the developers, well, obviously that does sound like a much better deal for both sides, because like, you're getting a lot of content while the developers are not really having to pay much for it. And heck, these are games that hasn't been re-released yet. Of course this is a pretty cool detail. I mean, not even all of these games were available on the Nintendo 2DS. Like, I have all the Game Gear Sonic games, and even I can say there's some that I just simply couldn't get because they weren't available. For example, Sonic Drift 1, Tails Sky Patrol. Why is Sonic Triple Trouble here, but not Sonic Chaos? At least I can somewhat get Sonic Drift since it never came out in the West, but why Sonic Chaos? That did come out in the West. Its name comes from the West. Whatever, at least I have the ability to play these games again. Even with that said though, it is still a very bare bones way of making extra content for the game, because making this emulation thing is very easy. Just simply slapping in an emulator, having it work well, and that's it, call it a day. is a very easy thing for the developers to do and doesn't really show that much effort into it. And you might be thinking, why am I even complaining about this? The thing is that I had to pay $40 for a deal for the entire game. $40 for the entire game. Then $5 more for very terrible DLC that only does cosmetic things. That doesn't even affect the cosmetics during gameplay, so useless. And then you have to pay probably like $7 or however Sonic Mania Plus costed, and there you go. That's the entire game's price. Like, why? That is like almost $50. And I know that probably seems like it's a weird complaint if you think that these 4 games are probably worth like $40 in your opinion, and sure, I can see that. I love Sonic CD, I love Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I like Sonic 2, I like Sonic 1. But the thing is about these games is that I'm not saying they deserve to cost as much. I'm saying that statistically, you are pretty much getting a ripoff from buying Sonic Origins if you already have an iPhone. Okay, then again, you can't buy like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but even then, it still would be a ripoff. As if you look at the mobile versions of Sonic 1, 2, and CD, even back when they first released, they costed about like $3 just to get the entire game. And even after they were made free to download and you can like turn off ads by paying for the game, it was only like $2. You barely had to pay anything just to play these games on your mobile devices, and you can still get a more like gaming experience because you can still connect the PS4 controller or Xbox One controller or whatever to your mobile device. Like, that isn't impossible or hard, and I don't exactly see what's the real benefit of buying Sonic Origins when at the very least 3 of the games are overpriced. Like, since there's 4 games and you got a collection of these 4 games, it would pretty much make it to where you're paying for what would have been $2 worth of games each to $10 each for each game. Whatever, I'm saying it terribly. You know, Sonic 1 $10, Sonic 2 $10, Sonic 3 and Knuckles would have been $10, Sonic CD $10. That doesn't really make any sense when you could literally get a little bit less content, but still almost the exact same game, and heck, even better quality of life features on your mobile device. And since the Sonic 3 Knuckles is literally designed almost exactly like the other Sonic games are, just that it was made a lot later, so it was obviously able to have a bit more interesting additions, since that obviously a sequel is going to have much more interesting additions than the previous titles. But still, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is able to have a bit more content put inside of it, and it's a Sonic game that hasn't been ported in a while, so it being like $5, like, yeah, it's reasonable. Heck, I would even say the extra content for like the other games making them $4 or something, I guess that's pretty reasonable as well. Heck, even Amy just being there, or including the Game Gear games, that's honestly just something to make it cost more in the reasonable sense. I don't really like Sonic Origins Plus that much. It feels kind of bare bones for something that honestly would have made the game at least $25 like Sonic Mania. Seriously, I could see Origins literally going for the same price as Mania. No joke. Even with the DLC, it would have been like $25, the same as Mania Plus, but no, it costs $10, $30 more just to get the entire package in Sonic Mania. And that's what makes me very annoyed. Is the Game Gear games better than Encore mode? Yeah, I would definitely say that I rather would play a collection of emulated games, especially if one of them is Tails Adventure, since I honestly love replaying that game. So, would I actually go for this collection? I mean, it has Amy, isn't that reason enough? I gotta play as my girl. Last minute. You remember how Sonic Mania Plus, how when they included Mighty and Ray, they just decided to just, slap super forms on them because why not? The super forms were in the game, they can enter the special stages. Like, Why not give him super forms? No, scratch that. Not Super Amy. No. Not Super Amy. Hyper Amy. Yeah. In all honesty, though, maybe we probably won't get Super Amy and you just have her not be able to enter the special stages. Yeah, I think that's how it's going to work. Knuckles is going to be playable in Sonic CD, but he won't be able to access the special stages. And Amy will be the exact same thing. She won't be even able to enter any of the special stages. Maybe. I'm probably missing some footage or something, but you're probably thinking I'm like taking the most cheapest sounding route ever, but Sega's a very cheap company in all honesty. Sure, I know Sonic Frontiers is getting a lot of free DLC, and maybe Sonic Origins will be the same situation where that's free DLC, but seriously, no. Just no. So by the way, no offense to the actual developers of Sonic Origins Plus, I don't actually have any grudges against them. I understand that when it comes to this type of project, you're just trying to put in the stuff that you were told to put in, and honestly, I have no issues with that. If you're just doing your own job and you have nothing to really be blamed for. And I could even tell that there was some like promise put into this when it comes to Amy. She does look pretty interesting to play. I wish she played like the way she did back in Sonic Advance 1. I still think that was the best version of Amy. At least give me the option for that. But at the same time, I do know that this is the classic games, which they weren't designed with Advanced Amy in mind. So I guess in that sort of sense, it kind of makes sense. So also I do like the emulated game still. Like, even if I do think that it makes this type of DLC more bare bones than it should be, at least it's more content in games I haven't been able to play. But with that said, though, if it doesn't actually cost money and I'm just complaining about this for no reason, but hey, at least I'm getting my money's worth, because I'm paying for 12 different Game Gear games that I do know costed about like, I don't know, $3 to $7 each on the eShop. I'm gonna have to like, recheck that first, but at least with that fact, I still would be able to make my money's worth. And if it's like, I don't know, $5 is the DLC, when it comes to the Game Gear games themselves, I think that would actually definitely be a pretty good deal, because you're getting what should have been like $30 altogether in like $5. That's a sweet deal.